Fortnite's entire Omniverse is coming together to fight the Dark Presence in what'll be the biggest event of all time. This'll finish a confusing story involving demons, Homer Simpson, but most importantly, the return of the Seven next season. So today, we're gonna explain exactly why this is happening and the mystery behind the Dark Presence. It all started when we arrived on the Chapter 6 island, realizing we had been transported to a world that had plenty of history. The people of this island had spent years battling demons, keeping them at bay using the power of ancient magic. One of the families responsible for this were mask makers, who created the perfect tools for people to defend themselves against dark spirits. The members of the family are these siblings, Kendo, Jade, and Daigo. Life on the island had been pretty tame until we arrived. You see, as we fell down onto the map, so did this rock from space. It's a shard of the 0 point. It crashed down onto the island, and immediately this got a ton of attention from the same demons that have been banished all this time. The problem was, now a few demons have broken free from the spirit realm and were already wreaking havoc on the island. The mask-making siblings were inexperienced and unable to find a quick solution to this huge new problem, so Daigo had a different answer. He began to experiment with using the demon's magic, cursed energy that had been strictly forbidden in their family for generations. Of course, it was banned for a reason, because in his ignorance, Daigo ended up sending his sister Jade to the spirit realm by accident. Now, she was in the hands of demons, and who knows what would happen to her. They needed to rescue her immediately. The only problem, it was impossible for mortals to go to the spirit realm, so a plan was needed and fast. Daigo's answer was to simply keep experimenting. He was determined that cursed magic was the key to freeing his sister and defeating this demon army. If only he knew this rabbit hole would lead the island into eternal doom. But for now, he was confident in this plan. But he wasn't the only one. You see, with Hope and Jones trying to get to the bottom of all of this, they needed to save Jade too, and their idea was to work with a demon of their own. So they went to the Zero Shard's crash site, taking splinters from the ground, and even this would be enough power to free the demon they were after. This is the Night Rose, someone who had been brought to the island by the will of a more powerful demon known as the Puppeteer. It had spent years controlling her, and now Hope and Jones would be able to save her life in return for Jade. After all, they needed her expert knowledge on the spirit realm and what kind of threat they were up against. Except after being saved, the Night Rose used the knife forged of 0 point splinters in a totally unexpected way. She straight up gave it to Daigo, believing his plan would be more effective. So now, with the cursed masks and the power of the 0 point, Daigo could break into the spirit realm himself and free Jade, becoming the one true hero of the island. Despite being rescued, Jade had seen unimaginable things in the spirit realm. It was a glimpse into the biggest threat the island has faced in years. Everything in this world is connected. The spirit realm, it was strange. It wasn't dark or evil, but there was a dark presence there. It knew me, my family, and it wants us, all of us, but especially Daigo. It has the shard, we can't let it take the island. So a dark presence was now in total control of the Zero Shard, which spelled disaster for our world. At this point, with Daigo as the most powerful being on the map, we basically had to look to him for advice. After all, he was strong enough to defeat the demon Shogun X, all while rescuing Jade on his own. But he wasn't actually able to look inside the spirit realm for long, and that ate away at him. Daigo knew the dark presence was coming, and even worse, it knew about his family. It was targeting him, and now Daigo had used cursed magic. He was cosmically attached to this demon. Basically, it had corrupted him, making him obsessed with going back to the spirit realm. He needed money and time to build a portal and make his way back, so he confronted a local syndicate owned by a wealthy mob boss named Fletcher Kane. In return for his money and helping building the portal, Daigo would give Fletcher the Zero Shard once he had it. Except, in the time it took to open this portal, Fletcher's empire had collapsed. The islanders were tired of his taxes and mafia-style rules, so they sabotaged it. And with his power gone and money drying out, Daigo decided to abandon him, going after the Zero Shard for himself. In his mind, he was going back to fight the Dark Presence and save the island, but in reality, the demon had been in control this entire time. While Daigo was in the spirit realm, a brand new faction had invaded the island from another universe. It was basically Fortnite's way of making the Star Wars season fit in with the storyline, and it kinda worked, with Palpatine and his fleet of Star Destroyers after the power of the Zero Shard. It was basically a side story, yet we never imagined it would turn out to be important to what's about to happen in the Chapter 6 finale event, because Star Wars and all of the characters brought to the island this year will return. For now though, Palpatine had been defeated by Hope and Jones, and Daigo was back with more power and corruption than ever before. Now that he was under the full control of the Dark Presence, he returned to the island with a new mission, to serve his master and prepare the island for a demon invasion. A portal began to open at Daigo's lair with whispers coming from it. The name Asmodeus, also known as the King of Demons, the true name of the Dark Presence. Except what Daigo didn't expect to return was a team of superheroes. You see, while he was gone, a shockwave blasted the whole island, giving teenagers powers. Hope and Jones had taken notice of this and realized they could use it to their advantage. They just needed to train these newfound heroes before the fight. So with help from an old friend Midas and experts like Superman and Robin, they established the Supernova Academy. It was a school for people to truly become heroes. At least it looked that way on the surface, but in reality, Midas and Hope had other plans. Once the Supernovas had defeated the incoming demons, they would use the distraction to sneak into the spirit realm, take the Zero Shard, and return it to the vault from all those years ago. But this is where the major setback happened. They didn't have enough time. With Daigo already back and weakening the island by the second, he had one final trick up his sleeve, a surprise attack on the Supernovas. Within minutes, he had left the academy in ruin and destroyed everything Hope and Jones had worked for. There was now nothing they could do to stop the demon invasion. The Dark Presence was here, at least partially, with one of his tentacles trying desperately to break through to the island. Even though he was too large to make it, he was doing a lot of damage to our world, and we had to stop him before he could fully break free. And luckily, the Supernovas weren't all gone. After all, they still had teachers like Superman ready to fight. While the Dark Presence was held back for now, much smaller demons were easily able to continue their invasion. They had mutated swarms of insects and hives, which were now terrorizing the people who lived here. Luckily, an answer to this problem came quick. A military had been formed specifically to fight these insects, known as the Onimorph Extermination Rangers. Although, they kept coming, and we needed to defeat them at the source, so Hope recovered a rotting piece of the tentacle that had been cut off. She realized that the insects had arrived on the island from the spirit realm and then mutated to become even more dangerous. But this meant demons had now found a way to transport from the spirit realm to the mortal world, and it was all thanks to the Dark Presence and his Zero Shard. Knowing this, it meant he was already preparing to reinvade the island, and this time, it wouldn't just be a tentacle. We were extremely unprepared for this fight, and Hope tried to figure out our best chance of surviving the end of the world. So she was able to reverse engineer the portals that brought demons here and realized they still had the dagger made of 0-point splinters. It was simply in the possession of Daigo. Luckily, the corruption in his mind had withered, and he realized he'd been played like a fool all along. Giving the blades to Hope, he asked her to do what I failed to do, cut through the veil and strike down this demonic incursion for all of us. Okay, we had our game plan. We were going to get to the Dark Presence before he could destroy the island and stop his invasion at the source. But then things got really weird. All of a sudden, the bugs stopped coming. The insects that had terrorized us simply retreated, and we had no idea why. If only we had realized sooner, it was because the Dark Presence had arrived. He was just days from making his way to the island, and because his new power had caused the veil between worlds to thin, other universes and collabs were now colliding with ours, like Springfield from The Simpsons. Hope and Jones had no choice. We had to fight the Dark Presence now.
Okay, Jones. This is the place.
Oh, great. What do those two want?
The instability's getting worse. And that treehouse is not healthy.
All right, time to seal the breach and trap Mr. Demon in the spirit realm.
Your upgrades to the Rift device better work.
It's never let me down.
All right, Jones. If you're gonna do something, do it now.
This will either fix everything, or make it a whole lot worse. See? Piece of cake.
Heads up!
Well, I made worse. So much worse. We can't let that demon take the island.
We simply weren't strong enough. We had to flee to the other universe for the safety of the island. The issue was, Hope didn't want to. She had taken a small fraction of the Zero Shard from the Dark Presence, and in trying to get back to the fight, she accidentally merged Springfield with our world. This was a major problem. Not only were we totally lost, but the Zero Shard had now found its way into the hands of Homer Simpson.
Sir, the radio is saying if you find a glowing shard, call the police. It's alien, uncontrollable, immensely powerful, and deadly.
Something powerful and something. A lot of power, all right.
In classic Homer fashion, he had no idea what to do with all this power other than turn Springfield into his version of a paradise. Hope started to realize what was going on and had us ask him to give it back and even bribe him, but he still refused. He was having the time of his life, but at everyone else's expense. Giant donuts were falling down from the sky, people's lives were getting ruined, and Springfield turned on Homer. Realizing he was about to get swarmed by the town, he fled, trying to get rid of the Zero Shard. So what was his idea? Of course, throw it into a nuclear core of the Springfield power plant. Obviously, this is Homer we're talking about, so he also managed to fall in there too.
So many regrets. Losing family. Never got to eat candy bar.
Immediately, this merged him with the 0-point energy and caused an entire army of clones to appear, making Springfield even worse. Not to mention, the power plant was struggling to contain all of that incredible energy and began to have a nuclear meltdown, polluting all of the rivers and creating a huge mushroom cloud in the sky. At the same time, Homer found himself being reborn from the evaporating clones, and fused with the energy of the 0-point, he was now gigantic. And fortunately, Hope and Jones had an idea.
Pretty sure the 0-point shard is in his stomach.
Is there anything we can do?
Absolutely. We can vaporize his motor cortex, rendering him immobile, then extract the shard with a strike team through the lower bowel. I'm sorry, but we need that shard back now if we're going to return to our island and defeat the Demon Master.
And so this is where Homer's able to give them the shard in the most fitting way.
Oh, homie, I knew you'd listen. A wife always knows how to reach her giant gas husband.
And I always obey billboards, which reminds me, I gotta drink more Slurp.
With this shard back in their hands, they can now prepare to return to the Dark Presence and defeat him once and for all. But unfortunately, there's still some of its energy inside of Homer, so he isn't able to shrink down to his normal size. Instead, Hope realizes they could use this in the upcoming battle.
Homer, I have an idea, but you'll have to come with us to face the Demon Master.
First defeat Demon Master!
And Hope won't stop there with the recruiting. With the biggest battle in Fortnite history around the corner, we're gonna need the help of everyone imaginable. This Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, the 0 Hour is about to begin, and it'll give us an Avengers Endgame style fight against the Dark Presence. It's gonna bring this year's memorable characters from Godzilla and Kong, the Huntrix, and the Rebel Alliance all together for one final push.
This is it. We'll never get a better shot.
The storyline is officially back. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.